Good evening. Welcome back. Very good evening. Very good evening. Welcome back, everybody. We probably started a minute early. And a minute early, we have 500 plus people already logged in. That is fantastic. Very good evening to everybody. Please join in. We have an extremely interesting session planned for today. आज का सेशन काफी इंटरेस्टिंग होने वाला है. We will be learning we will learn certain concepts whose names we have been using for quite some time. दो चार कॉन्सेप्ट ऐसा है जो हम लोग यूज करते हैं टर्म, बट उसका क्लैरिटी शायद कहीं पे थोड़ा बहुत बेहतर हो सकता है. तो आज का सेशन का टारगेट ये है कि वी विल बी टैकलिंग those concepts. I know that you have queries about the exam. I'm aware of it. We will discuss the exams as well. But first and foremost, I would request you to kindly join in. All right. So today, at the end of today's session, the feedback and the quiz that we have, I will be asking you about the exam that you gave on 30th. आज के डे एंड पे जो क्विज एंड फीडबैक फॉर्म होगा उसमें एक चीज जो आपसे पूछेंगे वो है कि आपका असेसमेंट, लेवल 1 असेसमेंट आपको कैसा लगा, व्हाट वाज योर एक्सपीरियंस, व्हाट डिड यू फील आफ्टर यू गिव द एग्जाम. एंड डोंट वरी, I will be addressing the point of what is right, what is wrong, how you went wrong, how you can solve. आपको कहीं पे भी दिक्कत हुआ है एग्जाम में, we will be discussing that. Right now I will update you on two things. दो चीज आपको पहले अपडेट कर देते हैं. The reason the solution for the exam has not yet been shared with you is that we still have participants who are requesting to give the exam, could not give the exam earlier for genuine emergencies, for medical emergencies of themselves, family members. They were traveling at that point of time, some other serious work related emergency. So I have been getting this request directly to me as well as through the L&T mutual fund team. So I would address something on that front, and then we will move ahead towards today's session. All right. So I think we've given a couple of minutes as with every other class. 2-3 minute हो गया है. We can now get started. So let me first share a couple of information with you. We had over 1500 people give the exam on 30th. 30 तारीख को 1500 से ज्यादा जन एग्जाम दिए, out of which I think 55 or 56 participants have scored 100 marks. They have got 100 marks, which is fantastic. The average score was in excess of 65%. I am super happy with that. Average score exam का 65% से ज्यादा रहा है, which is amazing. That is a fantastic effort by all of you. I will be tackling questions. Each and every question that was there, I will be solving it and I will be explaining it to you, but not in today's session. आज का session, अपना जो 20 session है उसमें उसको नहीं डालते हैं, because that is wastage of your time. I would want you to learn new things in the 20 sessions. All right. So the explanation will be taken separately, and it will be shared with you. It was supposed to be shared with you before today's session, but as I told, a lot of people are still due to give the exam and are putting in a lot of requests. All right. So my communication to you is this: we will be reopening the link for the exam for exactly 1 hour. 1 घंटा के लिए हम लोग उसको ओपन करेंगे टुडे इवनिंग. If you have not yet given the exam, then appear for the exam immediately. Please do not be late, because after this I will not be taking any request. At the same time, I had announced that the first 20 people will get some sort of recognition. We have decided anybody who has scored 100% marks will have some recognition, but not the book, but they will have some recognition. So the top 20 will get the book, the option of books we had given as a token of appreciation, as well as anybody who has scored 100% marks will also be getting a certificate of appreciation and recognition. ओके तो जिनको भी 100% मतलब 100% फुल मार्क्स मिला है उनको एक सर्टिफिकेट पीजीपी के तरफ से आपको मिलेगा एज अ टोकन ऑफ एप्रिसिएशन एंड फॉर द अमेजिंग परफॉर्मेंस. Now before we start today's session, और एक चीज बोल देते, there is one more point that I want to share with you. One particular question, which is the question was on real rate of return, inflation adjusted return. A lot of you had thought क्वेश्चन गलत है, आप सोचे क्वेश्चन गलत है. जो थर्ड सिनेरियो था, जो थर्ड ऑप्शन था, प्लीज when I share the solution, please have a look at the question. You will realize you had to read the question carefully. Question ध्यान से पढ़ना था. That was one trick question that was given in the exam. एक trick question था वहां पे जहां पे inflation was more than the return rate. That is all. That is all. So I will be sharing the solution, not a worry. Today we will get started with the concepts that vast majority of you have sent separate request for. आप में से बहुत सारे जन अलग से request भेजे हैं. That is to understand how do we calculate returns. उसमें IRR, XIRR, CAGR, what are all this? How do we calculate it? वो discussion आज हम लोग करेंगे, and we are starting with that discussion right now. All right. So what we'll do is I'll ask you, आपको स्क्रीन पे एक नॉर्मल सा क्वेश्चन दिखेगा, आप उसका आंसर नॉर्मली सोचिए. यू डोंट हैव टू सेंड इट, यू जस्ट थिंक ऑफ व्हाट इज योर नेचुरल रिएक्शन. आप स्क्रीन पे जो क्वेश्चन रहेगा उस सिचुएशन पे बेसिस पे आप बोलिए कि आपका इन जनरल आंसर क्या लगता है कि इसका क्या होना चाहिए. ऑलराइट, सो let us start off with our discussion on returns, the various way returns are calculated. Returns किस तरीके से calculate किया जाता है. So now this is scenario 1A. This is the first scenario that we are doing. Investment 5 lakh. Current portfolio 6 lakh. What is the return? अगर पूछा जाता है कि इन्वेस्टमेंट आप किए हैं 5 लाख और आपका करंट पोर्टफोलियो 6 लाख रुपया है, तो आपका रिटर्न क्या हुआ? What would be your return? Some would be thinking 1 lakh rupees, some would be thinking something else. So what was the return on this? What is the return that we can say on this investment? 5 lakh investment, current portfolio 6 lakhs. Very simple, very simple. What's the return? The return is 20%. The return is 20%. I invested 5 lakh, it has grown into 6 lakh. So what is the return? 20%. 5 लाख रुपया लगाए थे, वो अभी जो फंड वैल्यू है या वो जो इन्वेस्टमेंट वैल्यू है वो 6 लाख रुपया है. वी विल स्टार्ट विद द सिंपलेस्ट ऑफ क्वेश्चंस. एकदम सिंपल क्वेश्चंस से चालू करेंगे, and one step at a time in this very session we will be going up in the complexities. So I would request everybody's undivided attention for this session, all right? Because if you miss a particular concept, easy things that I'm telling right now, understanding what comes after this will get difficult. आप हर किसी से रिक्वेस्ट करेंगे कि आप ध्यान दीजिए, क्योंकि एक ही सेशन में हम लोग काफी ज्यादा सिंपल से एकदम बेसिक लेवल से काफी ज्यादा सोफिस्टिकेटेड या कॉम्प्लिकेटेड कॉन्सेप्ट तक जाएंगे. तो हर एक स्टेप समझना बहुत ज्यादा जरूरी है, राइट? सो नाउ हाउ डिड वी गेट, क्वेश्चन इज हाउ डिड वी गेट टू दिस 20% आंसर? ये जो 20% आंसर आ गया वो कहां से आया? हाउ डिड इट कम आउट? नाउ 5 lakh was the investment. My current portfolio size is 6 lakh. Hence, the excess that I have is 6 lakh minus 5 lakh, which is current investment value minus initial investment value. So 1 lakh is my excess over the actual investment. And now this excess divided by the initial investment value. It is 1 lakh divided by 5 lakh. Now 1 lakh divided by 5 lakh is 0.20. Expressed as a percentage, that answer becomes 20%. 0.20 is nothing but 20%. One important thing which is supposed to be obvious, एक जो point बहुत ज्यादा obvious होना है कि ये excess divided by initial investment value होगा. It is not excess divided by current investment value. Please, it is a very simple concept, but I have seen people still make mistakes on this. Okay, so now the point is we got a return of 20%. 20% का return मिला. I hope there is no confusion on this. Now, of this 20%, when we say 20% is the return, is it correct? क्या ये सही आंसर है या क्या ये गलत है? We told we calculated the return to be 20%, but is it correct? Are we making any mistakes? The answer to that question is yes, it is correct. Yes, it is correct. Now, the point is the return we calculated, the return of 20% that we calculated is the absolute returns. So the first concept for today that we are learning is absolute returns. जो पहला कॉन्सेप्ट है आज का वो है एब्सोल्यूट रिटर्न्स. 5 लाख रुपया लगाए, 6 लाख रुपया वैल्यू है आज के दिन पे, 1 लाख रुपया का प्रॉफिट हुआ या एक्सेस मिला, तो 5 लाख का 1 लाख प्रॉफिट हुआ, दैट इज 20% मेरा रिटर्न आया. This calculation of this manner of calculation, ये जो calculation, the process in which this is calculated, this gives the returns expressed as absolute returns. This is point number 1. Okay, so absolute returns, where do we see absolute returns as far as mutual funds are concerned? Where do we see absolute returns when it comes to mutual funds are concerned? We see absolute returns especially when we consider a time period less than 1 year. You will see, you invested today, after a few days you see what is the fund value, there is some growth. A lot of times it is expressed as absolute return. So it is expressed both ways, absolute as well as annualized. Now the question is, does it mean that we have got a return of 20%? One hand we are saying yes, एक तरफ बोल रहे कि 20% रिटर्न मिला है, 20% का absolute returns मिला है. One hand we are taking into consideration that we have got a return of 20%. Now this 20% is absolute returns. However, can we also look at it some other way? Can we say though the returns are not 20%, we'll have to relook it. All right. So now the point comes that I share another information with you. I share another information with you. आपके साथ और एक information share किए. That is, the investment was made in 2017. Investment जो है वो 2017 में हुआ था. The investment was made in 2017, and the current portfolio, by current portfolio now I am taking that we are standing in 2022, and the current portfolio is 6 lakh in 2022. In this case, what would be the return that the investment is giving? If I ask you the return now, absolute return will remain 20%. Absolute return का अगर बात करें तो वो अभी भी 20% ही होगा. Absolute return will remain 20%. All right. However, question is, if I ask what's the return per year, what is the return per year? सालाना कितना रिटर्न होगा, right? That answer comes to 4% per annum. सालाना कितना परसेंट रिटर्न है? That answer comes to 4%. If I ask you the return per year, that answer comes to 4% per annum. How did we get 4%? 4% मिला कैसे? How did we calculate this? Now, we simply divided the absolute returns of 20% by the number of years of investment. 5 साल में 20% रिटर्न मिला, तो हर एक साल का अगर पर ईयर कैलकुलेट करें, then we are getting, if we calculate per year, absolute returns of 20% and per year returns, if we now speak of, then we are talking about 5 years, 20%. So each year we are getting an average of 4% per annum. Now, what is this known as? Absolute return 20%. Absolute returns do not take period of investment into account. Absolute return कितना दिन का investment है वो consider नहीं करता है. All right. Whether you made investment of 5 lakh, 1 year later or 1 year before and are getting 6 lakh right now, whether the gap is 1 year, whether the gap is 10 years, absolute return will still be 20%. I hope this point is very clear to everybody. Absolute return does not take into account the period of investment into consideration. Now, the other point that we have to remember is the simple annualized return. Simple annualized return is nothing but absolute return divided by the period or the number of years of investment. All right. So 20%, again, I'm repeating it. I'm going slow because now we will quickly increase our speed. Guys, one request to everybody, we have quite a number of you who are very, very punctual, who come in, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes before the class starts, because I get to see, I am in front of the system a good 15 minutes to 30 minutes before the session starts. I get to see that. And then we have some who join in probably 15-20 minutes later. My request to everybody who is joining in even now is this: kindly join in early and at least on time, so that the discussions that we have, you can actually follow it and you do not have to ask questions in between the session because you are listening on it from the starting. सबको रिक्वेस्ट करेंगे काइंडली सेशन का स्टार्टिंग में ही ज्वाइन कीजिए सो दैट आपको समझने में दिक्कत ना आए. ऑलराइट, सो we have discussed absolute returns and we have discussed simple annualized return. Now the point is this: simple annualized return took into account number of years. It took into account number of years of investment. कितना साल का इन्वेस्टमेंट है वो सिंपल रिमेंबर दिस वर्ड सिंपल एनुअलाइज्ड रिटर्न took into account the number of years of investment. But one factor is still missing. एक फैक्टर अभी भी मिसिंग है. What is that factor? We are developing from absolute to simple annualized. What factor is missing? The issue that we have still not addressed is this. The issue that we have not addressed is this. It is time value of money. The issue that needs to be addressed is the time value of money. What does time value of money mean? Quite simply, time value of money का एकदम simple meaning क्या है? Quite simply put, forget all kinds of bookish definition. Time value of money simply is that I will prefer you giving me money today than tomorrow. Time value of money simply is I will prefer to have the cash today than tomorrow. I value it more today than tomorrow. All right. टाइम वैल्यू ऑफ मनी का एकदम सिंपल कॉन्सेप्ट है कि पैसा जितना जल्दी मेरे पास आए उतना बेहतर है. ऑलराइट, सो व्हेन वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट टाइम वैल्यू ऑफ मनी, we have to consider the fact that when we are talking about 5 years of investment, there is a factor that is missing. That is the factor of compounding. That is the factor of compounding, because when we talk about finance, we do not consider simple interest or simple returns. Though in the last concept that we did, was simple annualized return. We did not take into consideration any compounding in this case. So the time value of money will be addressed by the consideration of CAGR. Now, this is a question that I have got the most. We have now started discussing a concept that I need everybody's absolute undivided attention on. CAGR, compounded annual growth rate. Compounded annual growth rate. First thing is, it is compound return or compound rate. That is point number one. पहला चीज है कि compounding होगा, compounded rate. The second point is, it is annual compounding. The second point would be, it is annual compounding. What does annual compounding mean? Annual compounding क्या है? Annual compounding है कि साल में एक बार इंटरेस्ट पे इंटरेस्ट मिलेगा. You will have growth on growth or interest on interest only once a year. That is annual growth, compounded annual growth rate. Now, we have discussed this concept so many times. We have used this term so many times. Now let us look at a few questions and understand how it works. But before that, we go back to the basic. We go back to the basic. The basic is what? The basic is FV equals to PV multiplied by 1 plus R divided by 100 to the power N. This is the formula of, the basic formula on which we work. Or amount is equal to principal multiplied by 1 plus rate by 100 to the power T. In class 7, 8, 6, 7, 8, everybody has learned this. ये बेसिक फॉर्मूला क्लास 6, 7, 8 में हम लोग सीखे थे. सिर्फ एफवी और पीवी के बदले में वहां पे अमाउंट लिखा जाता था, कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट का. ये बेसिक फॉर्मूला है. नाउ if you remember, I have discussed this multiple times that this R, when we are finding FV, this R is known as the rate of compounding. If you remember, we have discussed this. R is the rate of compounding when we are finding FV, correct? This is the R which is considered as CAGR. So the in Excel, we don't have a separate formula. We don't have a separate formula like IRR equal to IRR. We do not have for CAGR. All right. So what is the structure that how do we calculate CAGR? अगर CAGR calculate करना है तो वो कैसे करेंगे? How do we calculate CAGR? We simply calculate CAGR by putting in this formula. So this is the CAGR formula, right? Now this looks complicated, and it is complicated because one mistake of a bracket will give you the wrong answer. इसमें क्या है कि ये CAGR का कैलकुलेट करने का जो बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर है, बेसिक फॉर्मूला है, वो ये है FV by PV to the power 1 by N, पूरा चीज -1 मल्टीप्लाइड बाय 100. बट इसमें प्रॉब्लम यही है कि इसमें एक भी अगर ब्रैकेट मिस हो गया आपका, या कहीं पे भी थोड़ा ज्यादा ब्रैकेट भी गिर गया, then the answer completely changes. So how do we calculate CAGR? Very simply. Think very simply. How do we calculate CAGR? We calculate, first of all, the answer is given here. Just hold on. 3.71. Okay. Very simply, the screen is visible. I am assuming that the screen is visible, right? So what we do is we simply use to calculate CAGR, we simply use the regular PGP, regular compounding calculator, and in that there is the rate function, rate, R-A-T-E, rate function. We simply use the rate sheet of the PGP regular compounding calculator, right? And that will easily give us the CAGR. One important point you will notice here is, here number of times rate is compounded is marked as 1. This is important. Please note, this is marked as 1 because it cannot be 12 or 4 in this case, because it is annual compounding. All right. So this is the CAGR. So that is 3.71. So first, absolute return is 20%. Absolute return जो कैलकुलेट किए थे वो 20% निकले. जब हम लोग सिंपल एनुअलाइज्ड रिटर्न निकाले तो वो 4% निकला. It became 4%. That is 20% divided by 5. 5 साल का इन्वेस्टमेंट पीरियड है तो 4% निकला. जब हम लोग कंपाउंडिंग इंटरेस्ट पकड़ते हैं, CAGR निकाल रहे हैं, तो हम लोग देख रहे हैं कि वो CAGR का वैल्यू 3.71% per annum. What is not written here is compounded annually. 3.71% per annum compounded annually. This is the basic structure. So how do we calculate it? With ease, CAGR निकालने के लिए बहुत आसानी से हम लोग निकाल सकते हैं, दैट इज पीजीपी रेगुलर कंपाउंडिंग कैलकुलेटर से. दिस इज वेरी वेरी सिंपल ऑन द पीजीपी रेगुलर कंपाउंडिंग कैलकुलेटर. Among other things, this is something that you can easily calculate. Now CAGR, we calculated CAGR. Now in this, there is something that we will have to pay attention to. Now this is where things will get very interesting, because I'll say a particular statement which is not what you are used to listening to. अभी एक चीज डिस्कस करेंगे जो मतलब नॉर्मली हम लोग वो उस हिसाब से नहीं सोचते हैं, या उसको सुनने का मतलब अपना थॉट प्रोसेस थोड़ा बहुत चेंज करने का जरूरत होगा. Now let's look at the screen right now. In 2017, right? Let's say May of 2017, I invested 5 lakh rupees. And 2022 May, I have 6 lakh rupees. This was the product that we discussed. 5 साल का difference में 5 लाख से 6 लाख बनेगा. These are not invest. Each is not an investment. This is the investment value. So 2017, I had invested 5 lakhs. The investment value was 5 lakhs. May of 2017. Now May of 2018, that value became 4 lakh. It dropped. मार्केट का ये है 5 लाख से घट के 4 लाख हो गया. 2019, again it grew. It jumped from 4 lakhs, it jumped to 6 lakh 40,000. 2020, it halved. मार्केट गिरा, वैल्यू गिर के मेरा फंड का वैल्यू बन गया 3 lakh 20,000. 2021, it became 4.8 lakh, and 2022, May of 2022, today I know that the fund value is 6 lakh. Now the point is, what is happening? What is the return that is getting generated by this investment? What is the return getting generated by this investment? Let's say I've taken, instead of May, I've taken 1st of Jan for the ease. It's very simple. So 5 lakh becomes 4 lakh. So that's a drop of 20%. 20% drop कर जाता है 5 लाख से 4 लाख पे. Which 4 lakh becomes 6 lakh 40,000. So that is a jump of 60%. 4 लाख 6 लाख 40,000 हो जा रहा है, तो 60% का जंप हो रहा है. Similarly, year on year changes are given here. Year on year changes are given here. So very volatile returns that have been generated. Now the point is this: after all this story, what is the return I am getting? The return I am getting is 3.71%. The returns I am getting are 3.71%. Now, this is the year-on-year variation that is happening. Don't worry about the Excel. You will get the Excel. You will get this presentation at the end of today's session. सेशन एंड होगा, उसके बाद आपको प्रेजेंटेशन भी मिल जाएगा. आपको जो एक्सेल दिखा रहे हैं वो पूरा का पूरा एक्सेल मिलेगा. अभी सिर्फ हम लोग ध्यान देके इसको समझते हैं. Now the returns generated year on year are minus 20%, plus 60%, minus 50%, plus 50%, plus 25%. All this story that has happened, all this is, we can't see. If I do not see 18, 19, 20, 21, if I don't know these values, अगर ये हमको नहीं दिखा, what did I see? I only saw that the return was 3.71%. Quite simply, CAGR क्या बताता है? CAGR ये बताता है कि कितना परसेंट इन्वेस्टमेंट रिटर्न होने पे 5 लाख रुपया 2017 से 2022 तक 6 लाख रुपया बन जाएगा. That is, in a period of 5 years, what is the return if I invest? Forget fluctuation. अगर fluctuation नहीं भी था, ऐसा कुछ सोच लेते हैं. Let's think somewhere that there is no fluctuation. There is a product that gives me 3.71% per annum, compounded annually. My money will grow from 5 lakh to 6 lakh. Now, these are fairly simple concepts. Why are we discussing this? 5 लाख रुपया 3.71% पे अगर लगाते हैं तो वो 6 लाख रुपया बनता है 5 साल में. ये तो बहुत ही सिंपल चीज है. ये डिस्कस क्यों कर रहे हैं? ये डिस्कस इसलिए कर रहे हैं बिकॉज दिस इज द की अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ डिफरेंस बिटवीन CAGR and IRR and XIR. This is where the difference starts. I need your attention. This is where the difference starts when we start calculating CAGR, IRR, XIRR. And at the end, I will tell you what is common between all. ये तीनों चीज में common क्या है वो discuss करेंगे at the very end. But right now, we will start looking at how they are different. All right. So now we saw that absolute returns तो ले नहीं सकते. We cannot calculate. Absolute returns don't mean really too much. Simple annualized returns also may not mean too much. CAGR is important. CAGR is important. ये important है. But इसमें भी कुछ challenges है. There are certain challenges with CAGR. What are those? CAGR completely ignores volatility. CAGR में कोई भी volatility account नहीं किया. We saw this, right? We saw year on year the changes that are happening. But all CAGR will tell us, CAGR सिर्फ ये दिखाएगा, all that CAGR will tell us is return of 3.71%. CAGR will not talk to us about all the fluctuations that have happened in between. That is one of the critical issues with working on CAGR. Now, the second point is, it is a point-to-point tool. What does point-to-point tool means? It means from this date to this date. Between two dates, I can now, they say that numbers, it is very easy to cheat with stats. To statistics से use करके किसी को भी cheat करना बहुत ज़्यादा आसान है. Because if I take point to point, I can choose those 2 points. Let's say I choose when the market is at the highest, and I choose one date when the market is at its lowest, and I do a CAGR. Let's say that is, we get a perfect 3-year, 5-year period. Then what we will have is, we can show that this is a fantastic return, right? Because it is one date to another date. So that is another handicap or another issue with CAGR. The biggest issue with CAGR is this. जो सबसे बड़ा issue है CAGR के साथ वो ये है कि it does not account for multiple cash flow situations. Multiple cash flow situation के time हम लोग CAGR का formula use नहीं कर सकते. We cannot use the CAGR formula while we are accounting for, when we are calculating for multiple cash flow scenarios. All of us remember multiple cash flow scenarios, regular intervals, regular cash flows like SIP, premium, insurance premium, STP, SWP. There we cannot use CAGR. I hope you have understood the advantage of CAGR. I hope you have understood how to calculate CAGR. Simply use the regular compounding calculator, the PGP regular compounding calculator, rate sheet, rate, R-A-T-E, rate sheet. Use that rate sheet and just ensure number of compounding is marked to 1. All right. Very simple, very simple. Now, what is the solution to this scenario? What is the solution to this scenario? So let's look at a question. First is, what is IRR and where can we use it? I have given you the full form of IRR. IRR, the full form of IRR is internal rate of return. What is it? In a very technical term, okay, IRR का full form है internal rate of return. इसका technical answer क्या है? What is the technical answer for what is IRR? IRR is that return. I don't means that is something that will probably be a little more complicated. It will bring two more terms forward, but it is basically the return at which the net present value will be zero for any cash flow. All right, but वो discuss नहीं करते. Let us rather focus, instead of discussing that and bringing complexities into our session, let us see where we can use IRR. All right, what does IRR do? IRR calculates return. IRR क्या करता है? IRR return calculate करता है. And where can we use it? Let us see as to where we can use it. Okay. Now let's look at this scenario. This is scenario 2, that I am investing 1 lakh every year for 5 years, and at the end I am getting 6 lakh rupees. So I have put in 5 lakh rupees. I have put in 1 lakh rupees 5 times regularly. Every year I have put in 1 lakh rupees, and at the end of this period I am getting 6 lakh rupees. Now this is how do we calculate the IRR in this scenario? What is the approach that we will be taking, right? Okay, just hold on. So what I have done is this. I have taken that the investments are made at the beginning of the year. So we have 1st Jan, then every 1st Jan of 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, we are making investments of 1 lakh rupees. So the cash flows are minus 1 lakh, minus 1 lakh, minus 1 lakh, minus 1 lakh. So 5 times minus 1 lakh. And on 31st of December, I am having a cash inflow. I have made investments of 1 lakh rupees 5 times, and at the end of it, I am getting 6 lakh rupees back. All right. Now, in this, we are getting, how did we calculate IR? Now, this is what I need you to see. Just hold on. What is the formula that we have used? It is equal to IRR open bracket. Let me show it to you once again. Right? I put equal to IRR open bracket. See, there is values. So I'm choosing the values. What are the values? These are the cash flows. These are the cash flows. Minus 1 lakh, 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 5 times. And then the 6 lakh is a positive because it's a cash inflow. There is an option of guess. After that, there is an option of guess. You can simply ignore that guess or put a comma and put 0, close bracket, and enter. I'll show it to you once again. Equal to IRR open bracket, choose all the values, as in all the cash flows. I've taken all the cash flows, all right, and then comma 0 close bracket enter 6.14%. What you can also do is this. I am going very slow. For those who know, I would request your patience. For those who do not know, I would request your attention. जिनको ये कॉन्सेप्ट, ये IRR कैलकुलेट करने आता है, आपको बोलेंगे थोड़ा सा पेशेंस, थोड़ा सा सपोर्ट कीजिए बाकी सबको। एंड जिनको नहीं मालूम, जिनको ये देखना है, तो उनको रिक्वेस्ट करेंगे कि काइंडली पूरा का पूरा ध्यान इधर पे अभी दीजिए। इक्वल टू IRR ओपन ब्रैकेट, दिस इज अनदर थिंग दैट यू कैन डू। और क्या कर सकते हैं? आई चूज द वैल्यूज, आई डू नॉट पुट गेस, आई जस्ट क्लोज द ब्रैकेट, answer. All right. So for IRR, two things you have to remember. IRR calculate करने के टाइम दो चीज आपको याद रखना है. One, cash flows have to be positive, negative. That you have to be careful. That inflow outflow sign has to be there. That inflow outflow sign has to be there. The second thing is you can give guess or you may ignore guess. It will not make a difference. But if you, let's say, make a mistake in between, instead of minus 1 lakh, you put plus 1 lakh. See the return changes. Did you see the return change? Did you see? Let's pay attention here. If the situation was it is minus 1 lakh, all 5 minus 1 lakh and 1 6 lakh, then the return is 6.14. But if I suddenly change this to a positive, mistake I made a mistake, then the return changes. So please be careful on the sign that you are giving. All right. So this is calculating IRR. This is calculating the internal rate of return. All right. So there will be multiple scenarios that we will be doing. You know, don't be worried. We'll take one step at a time. एक easy तरीके से हम लोग cover करेंगे इसको. So we know that the rate of return by this investment is 6.14%. Can I have used, could I have used CAGR for this calculation? क्या CAGR का formula लगा के ये calculate कर पाते? Answer is no. Answer is no. यहाँ पे CAGR से हम लोग calculate नहीं कर पाते. This is something that we would not have been able to do with CAGR. Now let's look at the next question. Let's look at the next question. This is scenario 3. Scenario 3 is this. Again, what is year 0? Year 0 is basically nothing, but I start off with the investment there. I could have put year 1 also there. It does not make any difference. As long as you put the dates carefully. As long as you put the dates carefully. So this is minus 2 and 1,25,000 for 4 years. And then one period there is no investment. Let's understand. Let's look at this scenario. Here we are putting 1 lakh rupees 5 times. यहाँ पे 1 लाख रुपया इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं 5 बार. कुल मिला के 5 लाख रुपया इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं. We are investing 5 lakh rupees in total in this scenario. In this scenario, we have pretty much the same thing. Only difference is that we are investing every year. We are investing 1.25 lakh rupees for 4 years. So total investment is still 5 lakh. After that, we are not investing anything for a year, and then we are getting 6 lakh rupees. So in that scenario, what is the calculation that will show up? What is the calculation that will show up? Now this is where especially you have to pay attention. All right. There are little things that will come into play. All right. So 1st of Jan, we put 1,25,000. 1st of Jan 2017, 2017 का 1st जनवरी को 1,25,000 लगाए. 1st Jan 2018, I put in another 1,25,000. 1st Jan 2019, another 1,25,000. 1st Jan 2020, another 1,25,000. 1st Jan 2021, there is no investment, zero, right? And with 31st December, at the end of the year, we are calculating what is the corpus that is created, kitna fund value bana. What is the fund value? That is 6 lakh rupees. So how do we calculate IRR? How do we calculate IRR? Similar way, we have discussed this right now. IRR equal to IRR, open bracket, values, comma, 0, close bracket, and enter. The answer that we are getting is 7.23. The answer that we are getting is 7.23. Now, this is incorrect. This is incorrect. ये आंसर गलत है. All right. This is incorrect. And in doing that, I am writing the incorrect spelling of incorrect. Amazing. Okay. So this is incorrect. ये गलत है. This is not right. This is wrong. This is incorrect. This is not the right way of calculating IRR. There is a mistake that is done here, and it is done on purpose so that you understand. Now look at this cash flow. Now look at this cash flow. Everything is mentioned, along with the fact that when we are not making an investment, 1st of January 2021, we are putting the cash flow to be 0. We are putting the cash flow to be 0. Look at this cash flow. This cash flow, look at the dates and the cash flow. And look at this cash flow. It is the same, except that in between this highlighted cash flow on 1st of Jan 2021 should be marked as 0 when we are calculating IRR. When we are calculating IRR, you cannot give any, you cannot miss, any step. Even if the cash flow is 0, you will have to mark it on the Excel while calculating. This is a very, very important point that is missed by people, and then they make mistakes. So while calculating IRR, this is something that you will have to keep in mind. Just a sec. Now we calculate the correct IRR, right? The correct IRR. So that is IRR, open bracket, cash flows. So what are the cash flows? Minus 1.25 lakh, 1.2, minus 1.25 lakh, minus 1.25 lakh, minus 1.25 lakh, 0, and then 6 lakh, comma, guess 0, and then enter. So the correct IRR is this. The correct IRR is the correct IRR is 5.30%. All right. So this is the correct IRR. Now, this is an important point that you need to remember while calculating IRR. Let's understand, और one more thing कि ये IRR calculate करने के time ये याद रखना होगा कि we cannot leave out any date or any cash flow, कि कोई cash flow नहीं था, we leave it. That cannot happen for IRR. The second thing, now there is a logic concept that I am going to show to you, and very simply you should be able to understand this. If you remember, I had told the time value of money is what? That I would prefer to have money earlier. If I get the money today, I prefer that to getting the money tomorrow. And the reverse will happen when I have to give money. I would prefer that I give the money tomorrow rather than today. This is time value of money, plain and simple. All complicated terms aside, सब complicated language छोड़ के time value of money यही है. और this is a concept that you, me, everybody understands very well. Even a kid understands this very well. What is the total cash outflow in scenario 3? In this scenario, what is the total cash outflow? 5 lakh rupees total cash outflow of 1.25 lakh for 4 payments, so that is 5 lakh. For scenario 2, what is the total cash outflow? It is 5 lakh. It is 1 lakh rupees 5 times. सिनेरियो 2 में भी 5 लाख रुपया ही टोटल इन्वेस्ट हो रहा है, राइट? 1 लाख रुपया 5 बार दिए हैं, 5 लाख रुपया ही टोटल इन्वेस्ट हो रहा है. वेयर एम आई गिविंग मनी अर्लियर? कहां पे पैसा जल्दी दे रहे हैं? सिनेरियो 2 में या सिनेरियो 3 में? द क्वेश्चन इज दिस, वेयर आर वी गिविंग मनी, वेयर आर वी हैविंग कैश आउटफ्लो अर्लियर? कहां पे जल्दी पैसा दे रहे हैं? सिनेरियो 2 और सिनेरियो 3? Scenario 3, because we are giving 5 lakh rupees in the first 4 payments. Here we are talking about making 5 lakh in 5 payments, annual payments, right? So the return is going to be less here. The return is going to be less in this scenario because I have given the cash out earlier. I've got the same amount of money a little later, means at the end of this period, but I've given money earlier. 5 लाख रुपया जो दिए वो जल्दी दे दिए सिनेरियो 3 में. So my rate of return drops. All right. So this is one important concept as far as IRR is concerned. Now 7.43 we know is the incorrect answer. This is not the correct answer. The correct answer is 5.30. Now let's take scenario 4 और एक scenario लेते हैं. Let's talk about scenario 4. We are talking about scenario 4 where we are putting in what cash flow do we see on the screen right now? यहाँ पे cash flow क्या है? What is the cash flow? The cash flow here is minus 1,000 rupees every month on the first of the month. Basically, it is a 1-year SIP of 1,000 rupees each. 1,000 rupee each is the SIP for every month. At the beginning of every month, this investment is being made. After a year, the fund value is 13,500. Very small amounts we have kept for the sake of example. Now, how are we going to calculate what is the return here? यहाँ पे calculate कैसे करेंगे? How do we calculate here? So let's again go back to the Excel. Let's look here. 1st of Jan 2021 minus 1,000. 1st of Feb 2021 minus 1,000. Like this, there are 12 payments that are made on the 1st of every month. And at the end of the year, we have 13,500 rupees. Now the point is, how do we calculate return? How do we calculate return? IRR, open bracket, we take all the values, comma 0, enter. What does the return say? Return says 1.80% is the return of the fund. 1.80% is the return of the fund. Do you think the calculation is correct? 1,000 rupee SIP for 1 year, and then the fund value at the end of the year is 13,500. Is the return, should the return be 1.80%? There is something happening. There is something that is happening. So let's see what is exactly happening here. Answer is not 1.80, right? IRR का challenge क्या है? What are the issues with IRR? Now we are finding what are the limitations of IRR. IRR कहाँ पे जाके रुक जाता है? IRR can only be used for annual cash flow situations. IRR सिर्फ और सिर्फ annual cash flow situations पे ही use कर सकते हैं. That is point number 1. Even if it is monthly cash flows, IRR assumes it is annual cash flows. This is a big problem. अगर monthly महीने का हिसाब भी दिए हैं तब भी वो सालाना कैलकुलेशन ही करता है. वो सोच ही लेता है कि वो हर साल पेमेंट हुआ है. Now this is point number 1. Point number 2 we have already discussed कि कोई भी डेट हम लोग खाली नहीं छोड़ सकते. Now let's go back. Let's quickly look at IRR. How are we using the, what is the formula that we are using? The formula that we are using is equal to IRR. We are only taking the cash flows, guys. And ma'am, the point is यहाँ पे हम लोग सिर्फ और सिर्फ कैश फ्लोज ले रहे हैं. यहाँ पे डेट का कोई फंक्शन ले ही नहीं रहे हैं. When we are using the IRR function, we are not even talking about dates. We are only taking the cash flows, and IRR assumes that these are regular cash flows on an annual basis. This is a regular cash flow at an annual basis. All right. So this is a big challenge while using IRR. So this is why IRR cannot be taken into account for this particular scenario. So what function are we going to use? So we have learned absolute returns, simple annualized returns, CAGR, compounded annual growth rate. We have learned IRR, internal rate of return. Now, what is that formula or function that will help us in this scenario? To our rescue comes XIRR. XIRR. What is the full form of XIRR? Extended internal rate of return. Extended internal rate of return. Right? Why did we have X instead of E? Why is it not EIRR? I do not know that answer. All right. All I know that XIRR, the full form of XIRR is extended internal rate of return. All right. So that is how we have marked XIRR. Now, so this scenario, again, when we calculate, we will be using the extended internal rate of return formula. CAGR हो गया, IRR हो गया, अभी हम लोग XIRR पे focus करेंगे. All right. So XIRR is going to help us calculate this. So XIRR is going to help us calculate this. I need everybody's attention on the screen, and please pay attention so that you do not miss out anything. Okay, so I'm trying to put this in the middle. Okay, equal to, very simple, XIRR, open bracket. First choose the cash flows. First choose the cash flows. Cash flows -1. So I am choosing the cash flows, right? 12 times -1000, finally plus 13,500. B2 to B14, I have chosen the cash flows, comma. Now here you will see XIRR takes into account dates. XIRR takes into account dates. XIRR में dates ले लेता है. So now I'm going to choose dates. So these are the dates. All right. So I'm choosing the dates. A2 to A14. So we have B2 to B14 amounts, the cash flows. Then A2 to A14, which are the dates. वो सब choice कर लिए. Now close bracket, enter. So what is the return generated by this investment of SIP? What is the SIP return here? What is the SIP return? The SIP return is 23.88%. 23.88%. All right. So the return here is 23.88%. All right. So XIRR takes into account dates. Given a choice and any calculation, please use XIRR instead of IRR. जहां भी आपको डाउट हो रहा है कि XIRR यूज करे या IRR यूज करे, leave IRR, use XIRR, and that will give you absolutely accurate answers. All right. So this is one important aspect that we'll have to remember. Now let us quickly check scenario 2 and scenario 3 with XIRR. I just told कि if you have choice of IRR and XIRR, choose XIRR. अभी बताए कि IRR भी यूज कर सकते हैं, XIRR भी यूज कर सकते हैं. आप XIRR ही यूज करें. Choose XIRR. All right. Just a sec. Okay. So let's go to scenario 2. Equal to XIRR, open bracket. We take the cash flows, comma. We take the dates. See, if I take this, this will be the same. Okay. Right. So here you have XIRR. If you have any difference, even 0.001% between IRR and XIRR, XIRR is giving you the correct answer. Scenario 3. Now let's use for scenario 3. What was the scenario? That there was a drop in cash. एक जगह पे कोई flow था ही नहीं. There was no flow in one example. So let's take that. Let's use. Please pay attention. यहाँ पे ध्यान दीजिए. हम लोग वो कैश फ्लो यूज कर रहे हैं जहां पे एक डेट मिसिंग था. एक डेट मिसिंग था. XIRR, open bracket. I choose the cash flows. I choose the dates. You see, the answer has come out to be perfect. Why? Because it is taking corresponding dates and the related cash flows. यहाँ पे cash flows and dates जो corresponding है, जो related है, वो directly XIRR ले रहा है. So again, let's calculate here also. first choosing the values, then the dates, right? I hope you understood that, the difference is immediately bought out. In IRR, because I had missed a particular date, the answer was incorrect. But in XIRR, as long as you have taken cash flows and their dates, if there is a gap in between jahan pe koi cash flow nahi hua, if there is a gap in between in which there is no cash flow, you do not have to bother when it comes to XIRR. Now, one important point I will mention right away is this. I know a lot of you have challenge in putting dates. आप में से काफी सारे जन को डेट्स डालने में ही दिक्कत होता है. Okay, so let's say some of you will think I will put 01 04 2018, or should I put 01 027 2019. I don't know whether to put MMDD or DDMM. I do not know what to put. Do not put dates like this. Excel में the easiest way not to make mistakes while putting dates. Forget about formatting date cells. Formatting भूल जाइए. Dates डालने का सबसे easy तरीका Excel में है, जो अभी हम दिखा रहे हैं, आपको अभी दिखाते हैं. The simplest way of putting dates and being 100% sure that you have, input the right date is this. Let's say I choose a date, 27th of May 2019. I will simply write, this is percentage. I'll simply write, just a second. I'll simply write, so these were put as percentages because I had completely drawn on the entire flow. 27 May, I will simply write the entire date by giving 27 space May 2019. It will take up. Now in this, do not have any confusion. So the easiest way to do it is by directly putting, the date as, let's say if I want to change this, just have a look at this. I want to change this date to 1st of Jan 2022. 1st of Jan 2022. The date, earlier date was 31st of December 2021. This was the date, right? I need everybody's attention here. Look at this right now. As an example, let's look here. All right, this was the date. I am just going to write 1st of Jan 2022. Just a difference of a day. Just a difference of a day. All right. So this is the easiest way to put dates. Dates लिखने का सबसे आसान तरीका ये है. While I am showing you this, did you realize that the XIRR changed? The XIRR changed. Again, look at this. 31st December 2021, XIRR was 5.30%. But the moment I make 1st Jan 2022, the XIRR has changed very slightly, but it has changed to 5.29, which shows that XIRR is the most accurate way of calculating returns when it comes to multiple cash flows. Even while calculating regular cash flows, means one-time cash flows, but XIRR is the easiest way to and the most accurate way to go about it. All right. So now coming back, we have done a recheck. We checked out that it works out fine, it checks out fine, the answers match. हम लोग ये देखें कि XIRR से जब हम लोग कैलकुलेट करते हैं तो वो एकदम आंसर सही देता है, easier है, it is more accurate. Also but the point is to be cautious, because the dates that you choose have to be absolutely accurate. If you choose the dates perfectly, your answer on XIRR would be perfect. So this is another point that I wanted to make. Now, XIRR, these examples are fine. What are some of the other examples where these things can catch up that we can do? In this particular example, if you look at scenario 5, one point is, guys, I may need 5 minutes of your time, additional time today. So instead of 7:30, I may need 5 more minutes of your time. I hope all of you will allow me that time. आशा करते हैं कि अगर 5 मिनट एक्स्ट्रा लगता है तो वो टाइम आप सेशन में रहेंगे, so that we can complete our discussion. Now, in this particular scenario, look at this particular scenario. What is different in scenario 5? Scenario 5 में कुछ अलग है. There is something different about scenario 5. That the cash flows are on irregular interval. There is no annual, no monthly. Irregular है. कोई भी डेट पे इन्वेस्टमेंट किया जा रहा है, कोई भी डेट पे, 1 जनवरी 2017, फिर उसी साल में अगेन इन दैट सेम ईयर 15 दिसंबर 2017, देन 27th May 2019, then 1st April 2021, all haphazard dates, which is what actually happens in real life. Real life में यही होता है कि there is no fixed date as such. It may be, there is a difference of 1-2 days here, or you get certain money, you invest as and when you get money. So this scenario is an example of irregular cash flows at irregular interval. Irregular कि कोई हिसाब नहीं है कि हर महीना, हर साल, हर क्वार्टर का हिसाब नहीं है. Irregular, जब मन चाहे तब इन्वेस्ट किए. So on whatever date you feel like you're investing, there is no quarterly, monthly, semi-annual, annual investment, as and when you like. Again, this is a scenario that will be tackled. This too will be tackled by the XIRR formula. I have put the dates, I have put the various dates given, I've put the cash flows, and then again I am doing equal to XIRR. I am choosing all the cash flows B2 to B6. Then I am choosing all the dates, closing the bracket, and I have my answer. And then I have my answer. All right. So as we notice that again, this is something that can be done by XIRR. This is again something that can be done only by XIRR. So whenever we have scenario of cash flows at irregular intervals, irregular cash flows these are. So in that case, again, XIRR is what we will use. XIRR ही use करके हम लोग आंसर निकालेंगे. That is 5.93% per annum is the return for this. Another classic case where if you're asked what is the return of the premium that I am paying, forget about the cover. We will discuss it in one of the coming sessions. Forget about that. वो discussion भूल जाते हैं. I have a money back policy on the screen right now. I have a money back policy. एक money back policy है. The sum assured is 10 lakh. 10 लाख रुपया का sum assured है. Term 20 years. Premium 52,000 rupees per annum. सालाना 52,000 rupees का premium है. Money back is 25% at the end of the 5th, 10th, 15th and 20th year. 5th, 10th, 15th and 20th हर 5 साल के एंड में 25% करके कैशबैक होगा. एंड बोनस, forget all this reversionary bonus, terminal bonus. I'm just saying bonus. Keep it simple. Bonus total will be 25% of the sum assured, payable at the end of the term. Payable at the end of the term. Now the question is, what is the return of such a product? ये मनी बैक पॉलिसी अगर हम लोग कवर भूल जाते हैं, let's forget the cover that it is providing. All right, let us assume that the entire 52,000 is towards an investment. Let's consider that for the time being, and then we find what is the return on such a product. So this is another classic case where Excel, XIRR will be helping us quite a lot. Okay, let me increase the. Okay, so I hope this is now visible to everybody. This is visible. So the first thing that we will note is this. We are taking that the policy has started on 1st of January 2001. We are considering that 1st of January 2001 is when the policy has started. So policy started means I have started paying premium. 1st January 2001 में ये पॉलिसी चालू हुआ है. पॉलिसी का मीनिंग क्या है कि प्रीमियम भरना चालू किया है. उस दिन पहला प्रीमियम भरे हैं 52,000 रुपीस का. So every year for 20 years I will be paying a premium of 52,000. That will be my cash outflow. That will be the cash outflow for 20 years. 1, 2, 3, 4, like this. This continues for 20 years. And the last premium will be paid on 1st of Jan 2020. Just count. You will find 20 payments are made. 20 payments are made of 52,000 rupees every year on 1st of Jan. Now, we also will have some money back. We will have some money back. Now, it will be at the end of the 5th, end of the 10th, end of the 20th year. Now you will have to realize one mistake people make. एक गलती जो करते हैं कैलकुलेट करने के टाइम, वो ये है कि प्रीमियम पेड, फर्स्ट प्रीमियम, सेकेंड प्रीमियम, थर्ड, फोर्थ, फिफ्थ, we take कि 2.5 लाख रुपया, this money back is coming, we take it that this will happen on 1st of Jan 2005. But when will the first money back happen? When will the first money back come into the account? It will come on 1st of Jan 2006. If you simply think 31st December 2005, 5 साल के end में, after 5 years, at the end of 5 years, so the first cash inflow or the money back will be on 1st of Jan 2006. So we will have cash back on 1st Jan 2006, 1st Jan 2011, 1st Jan 2016, and then at the end I will be getting another cashback plus bonus. So on 1st December, I have basically taken 2.5 lakhs of money back plus 25% of sum assured is the bonus. So if I add both of them up, अगर दोनों को जोड़ देते हैं, money back and bonus दोनों जोड़ देते हैं, then I have 5 lakh rupees, right? So this is the cash flow that I will have. This is the inflow that we'll have. and this is the outflow that we'll have. Inflow, outflow, inflow, outflow, inflow, outflow. Then there is some common areas where, few dates where the inflow and outflow are, happening on the same date. Date is 1st Jan 2006. I will have to pay a premium of 52,000 minus 52,000. I will also get cash back or money back rather of 2.5 lakhs. 52,000 देंगे, 2.5 लाख रुपया मिलेगा एक ही दिन में. So my net cash flow for 1st Jan 2006 is 1,98,000. Right? Similarly, again on 1st Jan 2011, I'll have premium paid, money back. Again 1,98,000. Again we will have 1,98,000 on 1st Jan 2016. Important to note is this: on 1st Jan 2021, we do not have to pay premium. We have already paid 20 premiums. We have already paid that. We have already paid 20 premiums, so we do not have to pay a premium on 1st Jan 2021. Here we will only get the money, so our net cash flow for that particular date 1st January 2021 में सिर्फ पैसा मिलेगा. उस टाइम कोई प्रीमियम भरने का जरूरत नहीं है, ऑलरेडी 20 प्रीमियम भर चुके हैं. सो कुल मिला के उस दिन का जो नेट कैश फ्लो है वो पूरा का पूरा 5 लाख रुपया सिर्फ मिलेगा. नाउ व्हाट इज द XIRR और व्हाट इज द रिटर्न ऑफ दिस पॉलिसी? What is the return of this policy? So the return of this policy is XIRR open bracket. What are the values that we will take? कौन सा values लेंगे? Cash inflow, cash outflow or net cash flow? We will take the net cash flow. Very good. So let's take the net cash flow. We take the net cash flow. Now dates. So we will choose the dates now. We will choose the dates now. 1st of Jan 2001 to 1st of Jan 2021. We have taken the dates as well. All right. So this is equal to XIRR open bracket D2 to D22. D2 to D22. This is the net cash flows, comma A2 to A22. This is the dates. These are the dates of those corresponding cash flows. Close bracket, enter. And the policy is giving us a return of, it is giving us a return of 4.20%. Now, for people who are CFPs in this class, इसमें आप में से काफी सारे जन CFP भी है. This is something that you do in the exam as well. CFP पेपर में भी ये सब जो भी डिस्कस कर रहे हैं काफी सारा चीज CFP में भी आता है. ठीक है. So now 4.20% is the return generated by this money back policy. Now, understanding how to use XIRR is one of the most important concepts that you can learn. This is very important that we understand the difference between absolute, simple annualized return, absolute return, simple annualized return. Then we spoke about CAGR. Then we spoke about IRR. Then we are speaking about XIRR. We spoke about differences. हम लोग बात किए कि कैसे करके एब्सोल्यूट से सिंपल एनुअलाइज्ड रिटर्न पे गए. वहां से हम लोग डिस्कस किए CAGR, IRR, XIRR. We spoke about differences between CAGR, with IRR, XIRR. ये between the three we spoke about where we can use what. But But the similarity is this. This is where the similarity is. I had mentioned that I will mention the similarity at the very end. The similarity is this. Each, whether CHER or IRR or XIRR, they give us per annum annual compounded return. Whatever they calculate, they are giving us per annum calculations, per annum rate. They're giving us annual compounding, per annum return based on annual compounding. This is the common thing between CHER, IRR, XIRR. So given an option, I will always choose to use XIRR formula, the function XIRR. At the end of the day, CAGR, IRR, XIRR, if used in the right place, will calculate annual compounded return. It will give you annual return based on annual compounding. It will per year return on annual compounding. So this is something that is very important to remember. How can I get more confident? इसमें confidence कैसे बढ़ सकता है about using these functions? Simply by doing as many examples as you possibly can. जितना सारा examples आप करते हो, उतना confident आप बनोगे. A lot of you have sent me a request that, sir, we are not very good with Excel, or we are not very good with the calculators. Can you show us? Again, I will show you. I have no issues in investing time and energy as long as somebody is wanting to learn. जहां तक आप सीखना चाहते हो, मुझे कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है मेरा टाइम इन्वेस्टमेंट या एनर्जी इन्वेस्टमेंट में. I have no issues as long as you're willing to learn. So we will be posting those on the YouTube channel, and you can continue to learn, continue to reach out to me if you have any issue that is still unresolved. My number, I have shared my number multiple times, my personal number also. Drop me a message if you have anything that is unresolved. Finally, one concept that I wanted to cover today is the point of trailing returns versus rolling returns. Trailing returns versus rolling returns. Now, this is something that requires a little bit of understanding. Rolling returns क्या है? Trailing returns कई discussion अभी तक किए. Whatever discussions we did was on trailing returns. What is rolling return? Rolling return में क्या होता है? What I will do is I will give you an example and discuss it, and probably if you are interested in knowing more about rolling returns, then we will take up a separate time for discussing rolling returns. But I just want to give you an understanding of what rolling returns mean. Okay. Now, I hope the screen is visible to you. All right. I'm hoping this is visible to you. Now, what we have is we have, various returns on various dates. Here we have taken rolling return calculation should ideally be on a daily calculation. It's a daily rolling of 1 year, daily rolling of 2 years, daily rolling of 3 years. But for the sake of simplicity, I have gone by a month on month basis, and that to a particular date of a particular month, so that the example becomes easy for you to understand. Here we will see that we have different dates and different NAVs. All right, different dates and different NAVs. Now in this, what we have is, don't worry, you will get the quiz right after we end this discussion. You will have the quiz right after this discussion. So we'll finish this discussion and then have the quiz. For people who are asking for the quiz, it is 7:30. We have not ended today's discussion. Once we are done with it, then you will get the quiz. So in this, what we see is on a year-to-year basis, we are seeing that 1 year rolling for every 2000 to 2001, return is minus 7.50. 2001 to 2002, the return is 13.51. Similarly, for every 1 year period, what is the return? See, the fund return may show something. The fund return may show something. The fund return may show a return of 6.11%. I've taken it from I've just put in random numbers. यहाँ पे random numbers डाल के दिखा रहे हैं कि 1 May 2000 से लेके अगर 1 May 2022 का बात करें तो जो अगर NAV 10 रुपया था, वो NAV आज के दिन पे वो बढ़ के 36.93 हुआ है, right? The NAV has increased from 10 to 36.93 from 1 May 2000 to 1 May 2022. If I simply talk about return generated, I've taken a XIRR calculation. This is the XIRR calculation, right? So you will see the XIRR calculation is giving us a return of 6.11%. But 6.11% is the return if somebody invested from 2000, 1 May 2000 and sat, did nothing. Today he is getting a return of 6.11%. But if I look at 1 year rolling returns, why? Because when one has invested, how much is the fluctuation that has happened? When I start looking at that, then I get, this chart. Look at this chart. The returns have been negative, positive, negative, positive, high, positive, high, negative. So we have a highest return over a 1 year period of 61.62%. We have the lowest of, सबसे हाई जो रिटर्न गया है वो 61.62% हुआ है एक साल का अगर इन्वेस्टमेंट पीरियड ले तो, एंड लोएस्ट जो गया है वो है -32.18%. And the negative out of this 22 years, it has been negative 7 years. 7 years, 1 May to 1 May, 7 out of 22 times it has given a negative return, right? The same data with the same data same hai, dates, NAV same hai. If I look at a 3-year period, then what am I saying? Over a 3-year period, the highest return is, and again, this is a CAGR, or this is annual compounded annual rates. The highest return is 19.24%, but the lowest is minus 10.70%. This is where we are discussing, guys. This is what we are discussing, right? And the negative, it has been negative for a 3-year period, investment period, 3 out of 22 years. 22 साल में तीन बार negative हुआ है. And if I look at a 5-year period, then I see it is negative only once out of those 22 years. And that has happened because, we took the 2008 massive crash. Even then, just one 5-year period had a negative return. The purpose of saying this is this, that it is better to consider rolling returns, because somebody who has invested for 5 years, we take 5 years to be, a lot of people take 5 years to be long-term investment, right? So इसमें highest return गया है over a 5-year period is 11.61%. जो lowest return गया है वो है -1.09%. You see, what we are seeing is over a longer period of time, fluctuations reduce, and it has been negative only one time out of 22 times. So we can say, we can show to clients that over a longer period of time, the question of negative returns actually starts moving away. But then again, this is something that we need to discuss in a lot more detail. If you guys are interested to know more on rolling returns and how it is calculated, yeah, then we will definitely take this up. All right. So this shows, this is a chart that is taken from a source, that over a longer period of time, almost it starts reducing. What are the chances of getting negative returns? Which is, people have a perception that if you're investing in equity markets, it is volatile, it could be negative. This is one of the tools that you can use, exhibitions that you can use to show that over a longer period of time, returns tend to be positive, and more returns, uh, more percentage times would be positive and at a higher rate than when you consider for a shorter investment period. So now we will wrap up today's session, but before that, what we'll do is, you will be getting, you can send the quiz now, you will be getting the quiz for the day. I would request you to kindly fill it up. It will hardly take you a minute. You should be getting it in the WhatsApp groups right now. All right. I definitely hope that you learned something new today, or at least I would definitely hope that certain concepts that were on your mind, you had, some doubt, they are clarified today. Obviously, rolling returns would need a separate discussion. If you're interested, let me know. We'll, uh, you know, discuss. We'll create a separate video on rolling returns. आशा करते हैं कि आज का सेशन में आपको एक नया कुछ सीखने को मिला। दूसरा, जो कॉन्सेप्ट्स आप यूज करते थे या टर्म्स यूज करते थे, वो कॉन्सेप्ट्स आपका और थोड़ा clarified है और थोड़ा clear है. There is better clarity on those concepts. I think the quiz link is in the WhatsApp groups. I would request you to fill it in quickly and submit it. Now the point is, for those who have not given the exam as yet, we are going to open the link for the exam for a short while right now. I would request you to give the exam immediately. For the rewards and recognition, people who have scored 100%, the fastest 20, you will be reached out from our team. You can give the choice of books that you want, of the two choices that you had. And for people who have submitted and scored 100, for those people, you will be getting a certificate as an show of appreciation and recognition for the performance. We will be posting the solutions only tomorrow, because people are still going to be giving the exams now. I've got requests from many, so I'm allowing you to complete the exams right now. All right. So that being said, I thank you so much for your time. You give me, I asked for 5 minutes extra. We have taken nearly 14 minutes extra. I thank you so much for sticking around. It is amazing to connect with you every on every session, and I thank you so much for the amazing commitment that you have towards learning. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining in today, and look forward to seeing you on Saturday. Take care, and be safe till then. Take care, guys. Bye bye.